Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you here, Matt. Thank you. And as always, a wonderful job. Thank you. So as Matt already said, the format, I'm just going to jump right into the meditation because we never know. It may last longer than 15 minutes. So let's get started before we run out of time. And as I've been doing for the lately, I'm just going to do more of a less. I'm going to have less guidance, just a little guidance in the beginning, and then leave it to you, and then we'll come back. Okay. And I'm going to play the bell that you're not going to hear, but I'm going to hear. That will tell me when to start and when to end. Okay. So first, begin with your intention to meditate and allow this intention to be communicated to your entire being. Your entire being is going to participate in this thing that we are calling meditation. On the surface level, we may not know fully what is meditation, but somewhere within us, there is a more correct understanding of what meditation is. So allow that part of us that already knows, that part of us in the intelligence within the body, the unconscious understandings, let them take over, let them guide you how to, once you hold the intention, let it go, and let your body guide you, let that intelligence guide you. How should you have your body? And gently scan from your legs. And as you're scanning the legs, wherever you bring your attention to, just pay attention to that intelligence. What is it asking you to do? Because it knows, oh, you want to meditate? Okay, this is how your body should be. This is how your legs should be. So you feel an inclination to make some sort of adjustment. So take that inclination to be a sign from the intelligence within the body communicating to you, wishing to help you fulfill your intention to meditate. And whatever you're asked to do, do it. And after you do it, again, pay attention. Is it helping you get to what is meditation, or is it taking you away? And once you feel a sense of satisfaction, okay, this is as much as I can do consciously with this part of the body, leave it alone, and then move up from your legs, move to the torso, paying attention especially to the spine, making sure that it is comfortable and yet giving you a sense of attentiveness. The arms and shoulders, making sure the head and neck are centered. However, will help you have that sense of centeredness with the head and neck. So there is no sense of conscious effort to hold the head and neck in place. And again, continue to close the area, making the area that you're bringing attention to getting smaller and smaller. So the big legs, less bigger torso, less bigger arms, less bigger the head, and now smaller area, the face. And then the eyes, allowing the eyes to adopt whatever posture will help you get closer and closer and deeper to the meditative state. A sense of accessing and abiding in ever subtle levels of consciousness. And why do we want to access them? Why do we want to abide in them? Because the more subtle, the more powerful means we have at our disposal to bring about meaningful transformation. And now we leave in the gross material object behind without pushing it away. Gently move to the breath. Not seeking to control the breath, not seeking to make the exhalation longer or shorter, nor the inhalation longer or shorter, just observing the breath as it is naturally. As you breathe in, you know you are breathing in. As you breathe out, you know you are breathing out. And already begin to feel through the body, energetically, physically, that you are beginning to touch a space that you can call the meditative space. There's something slightly different about it now than it was before. And acknowledge that to be a sign that indeed your intention to enter meditation, your intention to do something is being fulfilled right here, right now. And eventually you will notice there's a slight shift in how the breath is behaving, how you are attending to the breath. And that will be a sign for making the determination, like making a determinative intention to fully commit to entering and experiencing the meditative space. And the way we sort of sign that commitment is with a conscious breath, if that will help you. So when you feel ready to fully commit, take a nice deep breath, hold it if you need to, and then as you release that breath, completely release. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go in the body, let go in the mind, let go, let go, let go of the breath, let go in the body, let go in the mind, let go energetically, let go, let go, let go. Allow, letting go and allowing. And at the end of that exhalation, notice where you've reached. Have the intention to stay where you've reached while you skillfully breathe in. Staying. And again, as you breathe out naturally, let yourself sort of go deeper even into that state. Notice a certain level of calm is arising in the body. Welcome it, rejoice witnessing it, rejoice experiencing it. Notice a certain level of peace, certain level of contentment that is palpable, that you can feel in the body, in the breath, in the mind. Acknowledge it, welcome it. Rejoice that you're experiencing it. These are the signs that indeed you are in the meditative space and you're going deeper and deeper, accessing more subtle, ever more subtle levels of consciousness, ever more powerful levels of consciousness. And if you're meditating by yourself and you reach this point and you feel need to sort of recommit yourself, maybe you were distracted and you sort of took yourself out, but without knowing, then you can sort of make that recommit again by taking another conscious breath. And notice the signs enhancing, the pleasantness enhancing, the sense of calm and peace enhancing. And accompanying that, there's what is connected to clarity. The senses are becoming are becoming sharper and richer. The sense of touch, the sense of hearing, and especially towards inner happenings. Perhaps there are light shows and visions appearing all by themselves, or a scent appearing all by itself without necessarily having an object in your environment that could be giving that scent. So those are signs that the mind is actually becoming clearer. So accept it, welcome it, rejoice that you're experiencing this way of experiencing clarity. And simultaneously with this clarity, with this experience, whichever of the senses it is coming to you, there's a degree of sharpness, there's a degree of vividness to the experience, a degree of it's happening nowness. So acknowledge that. That's the luminosity. Welcome it. Rejoice that you're experiencing it. And this very inner experience, either inner sound or inner vision, becoming sharper and crispier, is also allowing you to be aware of attention is collecting itself, dropping certain things, and then just collecting itself, collecting itself, collecting itself. That's natural focus. So acknowledge it, welcome it, rejoice that you're experiencing it. So all the signs are there to some degree that indeed you're in meditation, a degree of calm, a degree of pleasantness, a degree through your senses of clarity, radiance, and focus. The term samadhi, some of you are familiar, some of you may have heard, is the mind collecting itself. So there is this samadhi-ing taking place, this collecting of attention is taking place. That's focus. And usually the term samadhi is used when there is complete absorption. So it's happening right now already. So witnessing that, taking joy in that, connect with that part of you that is calling you to experience life in a more meaningful way. Trust it. Respect it, and be grateful to it. And make a determination to make the most of this session, allowing that natural intelligence, that natural enlightened aspect within you to guide you during the session so that you can get the most from the session, so that when you leave it, it stays with you, continuing to guide you, improving your life, making your life more meaningful. And the way you You can visualize that to sort of help you. You can visualize this presence bright in front of you that you trust, that you are grateful to. Comes to the crown of your head and enters your heart, which is where your intelligence abides. And just feel it filling your whole being with its brightness. And feel yourself opening to it, ready to receive, ready to shine. Okay, get ready to come out of the meditation. First, acknowledge that you are indeed right here, right now, experiencing some level of the meditative state. Notice the signs, the sense of calm and pleasantness, the sense of clarity and radiance through whatever inner experiences you're having, and the sense of the mind, attention being collected to some degree. And noticing any measure of these, rejoice. And this is telling you, indeed, there is a state that you're going to come out of. So make the intention to come out. And with that intention, just like with the breath, we went in fully committed. Now we're going to commit to come out with the breath. Take a nice deep breath. And now as you release, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings. Reconnect through your sense of touch. Reconnect through your sense of hearing. Reconnect to your sense of sight. Deliberately noticing colors, shapes, lights, shadows. Okay. And if you were meditating in a pretzel yoga posture, now you can stretch and massage the limbs. Okay. So as I was a student learning about karma for the first time, and I have to say, for people who speak some language closely connected to Sanskrit, the way we say that the words that have become somewhat incorporated into the English language or non-Sanskrit languages, it's like we are torturing them. Even this very simple word seems to be just too simple sound, karma. But I found out recently that it doesn't sound good to them. It's like somebody saying speaking your own language, but speaking it with a sense of confidence, but pronouncing it completely wrong. Okay, so that's how it sounds like to somebody who actually has a language that connects to Sanskrit. So right now, we don't necessarily have to try to pronounce it properly, because it has somehow been incorporated into the English language that we are speaking. Just like some French words, I'm sure when non-French people are saying those words that come from French, like croissant, it hurts the ears of the French person when we say that. So in the same way, when we say karma, it hurts the ears of somebody who speak it. So I'm not gonna try to attempt to pronounce it correctly, but all I know is that I'm pronouncing it wrong because it hurts their ears when I say it. But something to do with a long A and a short A, and we have no idea what that means. Karma, something like that. And that may not be even correct. So let's get away from that. Let me relate. So the first time when I was learning these terms, which have become people have been very, very familiar with these terms now, to the point where they've left the place where we made contact with them, and they have been given even new identities, new definitions even. But they're given new definitions, new identities, making you think that that's what they always had. They always had those identities. They always had those definitions. But because they're making that claim, then we have to take them back. No, unless you're saying this is exactly the new way I want to understand it, then even if you're saying that this is how it used to be understood, then we have to go back. Okay, how did they understand it? And I remember, so the first time I'm learning these things, we get to a point, since we were being very scholastic at that time, very young into the dharma, you really want to understand things. And since you can't really have what you might call spiritual experiences, the only thing that is satisfactory for you is some sort of intellectual understanding of the terms that the things that you're being told. So when you have a sense that you understand it, it gives you this a kind of a pride that you understand it. So here I am with my co-disciples learning this thing. And what we end up doing, I mean, this is years, we are debating the finer points, what we think are the finer points of understanding of karma. And only later to realize that the point of teaching, the point of how did we even come to meet this term called karma? Is it that we had nothing to argue about? So since you have nothing to argue about, here's something for you to argue about. And then they give us the term karma. I'm sure that wasn't the aim of being taught karma. So always go back to, why did you come into contact with that term in the first place? What was happening in your life that somehow karma was supposed to be a way of explaining things to you? Not making you depressed, not making you become discouraged, but rather add meaning to your life. So go back to that when you find yourself debating the fine points. And what are the fine points that we usually debate? Like, this specific action leads to this specific result. And of course, all these are speculation. There's no way for us right now to really say this specific action, this specific undertaking will lead to this specific result. There's no way. But that is what we are seeking. So what was the teaching of karma taught? Why was it taught? And it wasn't something that the Buddha Shakyamuni invented. It wasn't something that he discovered and said, oh, by the way, people, there's something called karma. The term itself existed for thousands of years, if not millions of years. Well, thousands of years before it actually reached the ears of the person whom we now call the Buddha. So it wasn't something that the Buddhists invented. As a matter of fact, even though the word karma itself is Sanskrit, it is not the understanding of it is not something that was invented by Sanskrit society. This is something that is innate in each one of us. If you are a person, even as a baby, there's some innate understanding of this thing. A baby is hungry. What does the baby do? Does it sit and contemplate, what is this feeling that I'm having? I wonder what it is. What is its ultimate nature? No, the baby says there is a desire for something, and somehow instinctively, the baby says, I must do something in order for me to get the result. What is the result? I want to be fed. So the baby engages in an action, does something, cries, yells, or if it's an extremely smart baby, it say, hey, mom, baby hungry over here. How come you don't know that already? It's time. This would be instinct for you now. Come on. Okay, so even as a baby, because we are beings, so you could say the understanding of karma is innate in anything that we can call a being. Now, all the supposedly great teachers, what they've been tasked, what they felt that they were tasked to do is to help us understand what is going on. Almost as if to explain to us, why is it that the baby engages in something in order to achieve something that is not quite there yet? So we engage in something that we can witness, an action. We speak a certain way, we act a certain way, we deliberately think a certain way, because we are hoping that this somehow will lead to something that we are not in the present moment witnessing, that we will at some point come to witness it. We will at some point come to experience it. So that's all karma is about. It's about that. It's about the baby engaging in some activity so that the baby can have an experience that the baby wishes to experience. So keep thinking of it that way. Perhaps the baby, one baby yells at a certain pitch, another one yells at another pitch. This one thinks this pitch will do it. That one thinks the pitch will do it. So the specifics, perhaps if I yell a certain way, I will get this much. If I yell a certain way, I'll get that much. So those kinds of specifics, this is where we're trying to fine tune the action. And we're trying to be a bit more sophisticated. We're trying to be a bit more sophisticated than the baby. So I'm just hungry. I just don't want to feel hungry anymore. Let me do something so I can experience not being hungry. The baby is not specific asking for mango. It's not specifically asking for ice cream. It's not specifically asking for anything, or even how it's going to be receive it. Just there's this experience I want to have. No more hunger. And I must do something to have this experience. Okay. So in trying to sort of point to what is naturally occurring within the natural, the nature of a being. So we bring these things into words. We conceptualize them. Remember, in trying to conceptualize them, we're trying to point to something that is already innate. So the words that we choose, the words that are chosen may not necessarily work for you, but go to what is it that I'm in essence experiencing that these words are pointing to. Once you are able to do that, then you can say, they're using these words or this combination of words for this kind of understanding. I would use these words. These words help me make a closer connection to that understanding. So to keep that in mind, okay? Or you will be like, I mean, I've even debated with some students to the point of extreme frustration over years about, trying to understand this thing that's supposed to be very simple. And it's when we go beyond the very simple presentation as to why this is given to you. There's an experience that you want to have, and you want to engage in the action. You want to witness yourself engage in the action, that hoping that the action that you're engaging in will bring about the result, the experience that you want to experience. You want to witness the experience that you want to have. Okay, so leave it at this general point. Okay? Different people will say different things as to, like for example, and this is an extreme example, there were a sect there was a sect of some sort of spiritual sect back in ancient India who believed that to reach enlightenment, you have to do some rituals. After you do some rituals for some time, you put a tishula, a trident, you plant it on the ground at the end of a cliff, and you're supposed to jump, and hoping that this part of your head make contact with exactly the point of the trident, of the spear. Let's just call it a spear. Okay. If you miss it, if it hits this part of your head or that part of your head or the back or the front, then that's it. You will not get enlightened. But if you get it just right here in the center, you become enlightened. Okay. So these are some people, and I'm sure there were somehow some people actually believe this. And they were so convinced that it was true that they were teaching it to other people. I'm sure, unfortunately, they didn't teach it from having done it. This is how I got enlightened. But rather, I'm convinced if you do this, you will be enlightened. I'm going to do it later. But if you want to be enlightened now, go ahead, go do it yourself. Okay. So you have these different people trying to have, we are trying to have these specific experiences, and different people coming with, do this, that will give you the experience. Do that, that will give you the experience. Do this, that will give you the experience. So what is it about jumping from a cliff and with the crown of your head being pierced by a spear that doesn't quite sound like that could lead to enlightenment to some people? So what is it that instinctively that is telling you, I don't think so? And you can remember certain examples that you've experienced that told you, no, that was not the result. Like, so how many people in war got hit with a spear right there? So that means that the person who who was doing the killing was actually enlightening the person. And the person who died that way, was killed that way, actually was a great favor was done to them. They became enlightened. And you doubt that. So what is it that was instinctively that tells you maybe not? And that's where what is referred to as the laws of karma comes into play. And universally, no one will, you can perhaps extrapolate on them. You can have 8 laws of karma, you can have 2 laws of karma, you can have 20 laws of karma. But the main thing is, there's a presentation of them in such a way that you say, oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So that instinctive part, right? The first law of karma is that lengeba, and this is very much connected to the example that was given. And a part of it I say, oh, I'm not sure about that. It is the first law of karma. The result must have a link with the cause. Okay. And the way it is expressed is that the first law of karma is that it is certain. Sometimes it is translated as it is fixed. It is certain. But this is where we're trying to understand it, forgetting why you're being told it is fixed. Your mind goes into somewhere else, and then being fixed becomes some other, ends up having a different kind of meaning, some sort of mystical nonsense meaning. And then where you are saying, no, it's not always that, you're arguing with it. Why are you being told it is fixed? You're being told that the result you seek must be connected to the cause that will bring it. There must be something like a continuation within the cause. There is a continuation that will end up with a result. And the way it is simplified is to say, if the cause is virtuous, the result will also be virtuous. If the cause is non-virtuous, the result will be non-virtuous. To put it in a very new agey way that we're all using it now, if the cause is good, the result will be good. If the cause is bad, then the result will be bad. And just keep that in a general sense. Forget about the seeming exceptions. And the way that the example that is given so that we can grasp this is, an apple seed will produce an apple tree. An apple seed will not give an orange tree. Because within the apple seed, there's the continuum. There's a connection between the apple seed and the apple tree. So that's simply what they're saying. You want to have a good experience, then the cause must be good. Or you're having a bad experience, then the cause must have been bad. And never mind what exactly is good, what exactly is bad. You can even say, if the result is a result that brings a sense of satisfaction, then it is connected to having done something no, forget about satisfaction. Yep, we must satisfaction erase. Okay. Rather, let's say put it this way. If the result is a wantable, you want to have a result that is wantable, then the cause must be connected to something that is wantable. If the result is unwanted, then the cause, it is connected to a cause that leads to something that is unwanted. Okay. It was so clear in my mind when I was thinking about it, when it was conceptual, but when the words came out, I said, wait a minute, that's not so clear. So what it is saying is that, generally speaking, and to use crude language, bad results come from bad causes. Good results come from good causes. It cannot be that a bad result comes from a good cause, or a bad cause gives rise to a good result. An example would be something connected to, oh my God, a mental affliction. Something connected to a mental affliction as a cause can only give result that perpetuates affliction. Okay, so an example is dysfunction. Now I have to say these. I have to qualify these afflictions. When I can't just say anger anymore. I have to say dysfunctional anger is an affliction. The experience is a disturbance of the mind. The experience is a misunderstanding of an experience. And if that is taken as a cause, as the participant, the maker of a potential, then the result that would come from it is something also disturbing, also further leading to misunderstanding. Okay, that is why many philosophies, many religions advise us to be cautious with anger, at least be cautious with anger, because for the most part, we don't know how to really use it in a way that is constructive. Since we are more habituated to using it in a destructive way, then the result will be destructive. Okay, so that's the first thing about the follows of karma, which is it is fixed. And think of it always this way. You want to have also, when you have an understanding, an instinctive understanding that the cause that you engage in, when you study it, when you look at it from as many angles as you can, you say, it was good, the intention was good, the action was good, the motivation was good, everything that you, as far as you can tell, it was good. That means there was no intention for someone, for a sentient being, to experience pain, to experience harm, to experience suffering connected to it, right? It must only give rise to something virtuous, something good, just for the sake of using that crude word, okay? If everything you did in the creation of the cause was good, the result has to be good. And this is especially when, because of the unfortunate law of karma, is that results don't pop immediately after you put in the cause. What we have to understand is what we are engaging in is not, we're not creating results. We are creating potential for results. Okay, that's very keen, very important. It's not directly said, but it is indirectly taught. What we are doing is we are creating potentials for results. And when we are engaging in potentials for results, what we immediately witness after we are done doing whatever it is that we were doing is not necessarily connected to what we were doing before. Okay, so we may mistaken the immediate experience that comes after whatever we said, whatever we did, we mistake it to be, this is the result of my action. Now, they are connected in a way, but not as cause and result, as in the seed and then the plant that comes from the seed. They're not connected that way. They're connected in the sense of your action act as a means for something else, as the conditions for something else to ripen that was around to ripen. But it's not necessarily the thing itself that became the result. Okay, that's what we have to understand. When they say it is certain, that is, we create the cause, we create the potential, and it itself will become a result. Okay. And with that understanding, so that we do not become discouraged when we see ourselves, I'm always doing good, and my life is still miserable. You are, those seeds that you have collected, those potentials that you have collected, they have not yet ripened. And it is said that the chapter in Pabongka Rinpoche's text that explains karma, the chapter is called The Key to Happiness. The true key to happiness. And establishing conviction, establishing conviction that this is the key to all happiness. Okay. And just because the chapter in that book by Pabongka Rinpoche said the key to happiness, it lies in a conviction that there are results to causes. And the causes have a relationship with the results that they will produce. Okay. This is something that every religion on the planet is trying to tell us. Every philosophy is trying to tell us. Every human endeavor is trying to tell us. Okay. So we all have this. Remember, the baby understands this. It's when we get older, become sophisticated, we think that, I'm going to be happy if I manufacture these things, and what the means of manufacturing is polluting the environment, polluting the rivers, thinking that polluting the river is somehow going to make me happy. And the temporary happiness that I think I'm having comes from polluting the river. That is not the result yet of the action of polluting the river. Okay, that's what we have to come to understand. And when we misunderstand the connection between cause and effect, we go pollute the river because we think that's going to make us happy. I'm going to make a big profit out of that, and that's going to make me happy. So it's good to pollute the river because it will make me happy. Okay. So that's what the first law is about. And I spent a long time with it because if you understand that, then everything else sort of just naturally follows. Okay. And what's the next so-called law of karma? Is that the results are always much bigger than the cause. And the example that is given, take any seed. It is this small, and yet when it brings its result, it is, bigger than a house. Okay. So these are things that we actually witness. And it tells us that the universe, as we witness it, as we witness the universe, this is what we are witnessing. We are witnessing results. We are witnessing causes being put into action. And we are witnessing something where time is involved. Something happens now, and then later on, something else appears. You put a tiny thing called a seed, and then sometime later, a tree is there. Okay, so we witness, these are things that we are witnessing. This is how the universe works. And that's what that's why seeing this is how the universe works, where I'm not sure who has witnessed this, at least in our macro world, where poof, something just suddenly comes into existence without anything connected to it whatsoever. Okay. No one has witnessed these things. So everything that we have witnessed, we witness that it is connected to something else. And teaching this is trying to tell us, so you want to have this experience, then what are the things connected to it that can lead to it? Engage in those things, engage in those activities, engage in collecting those potentials. That's what it's telling us. And you do a little work and you get a big result. It's just the way the world seems to work. Supposedly, this infinite universe, which is ever expanding to further reaches of infinity, came from a tiny point. Supposedly. I'm not going to debate with anybody, but let's just say we accept that. Okay. So out of a tiny point, then there's this big, endless, seemingly endless universe. Okay. You don't believe that? How big were you when you were a baby? How big were you when you were a baby? And what are those things that came together that made you up? This body that you have. You couldn't even see them with your eyes. They were so small. And now look how big you are. Okay? So these are things that we experience. The causes is monumentally smaller than the results. So that means you do a little good deed, it will have a big impact. You do a little small, little bad deed, it will have a big impact. I'm just one factory on this big planet. I'm only polluting my side of the planet, and it has a bigger impact. Supposedly, nature doesn't seem to respect something that we call borders. What are the smokes happening in Canada doing here? Doesn't nature recognize the border? That's Canada and that's us. Why is it things are happening over there and they're infiltrating us? We don't have the fire here. How come we are having to not be able to breathe properly? Okay, so a little spark, and now you have acres, thousands of acres of wood burning. Okay, so these are things that we experience directly. And these are things that we feel instinctively that moves us to action. You want to be, I'm going to be extremely materialistic. You want to be a millionaire. I guess a millionaire is not worth much nowadays. You want to be a billionaire. You want to be a billionaire. Do you start with $1 billion and now you're a billionaire? No, you start with something much less than $1 billion and you end up with $1 billion. So these are things that we naturally understand. So we don't have to do mental gymnastic to trying to believe that the result is much bigger than the causes. These are things that we experience. These are things that we hope for when we act. So this is just expressing it, what is already naturally there. So that's the second law. The third and fourth law are really about teaching us a lesson, teaching us remember the first and the second. That's what the third and the fourth are really about. Remember the first and the second. So when someone says, what about? Remember the first and the second. But what about this? Remember the first and the second. What about you help an old lady cross the cross the road and she hit you with a cane, go back to you're asking that question because you completely misunderstood the first and the second. Go back to the first and the second. If you understood the first and the second, you wouldn't be asking such a stupid question. You helping the lady is not the cause that results in getting hit with a cane. And by it being fixed, it means that is the only cause that gives that result. Only an apple seed will give rise to an apple tree. So making that connection, helping an old lady cross the street results in getting hit with a cane. That means everyone in the entire universe, wherever the law of cause and effect operates, whenever they help an old lady cross the street, they get hit with a cane. That's what we are saying when we're making such ludicrous connections. And we are violating even our own innate understanding of this. Okay. So to help us go back to the first and the second, the third law says, so you want to be happy? So what have you done? What are you doing so you can be happy? You want to have this experience? What are you doing so you can have this experience? You don't want to be hungry anymore? You want to be filled? What are you doing so that you can be, so you don't have to experience hunger anymore? So the third law is you cannot have an experience whose cause that you did not put into action. And it seems to be silly, the third and the fourth. It seems to be, of course, why even state it? But the thing we keep forgetting. And the fourth one says, if the potential was created, if nothing is done to it, it always has the potential to produce its result. Like potentials don't just fade away into nothing. It's not like all the good things that I've been doing, all the charity that I've been doing, all the meditations that I've been doing, the potential that you're creating with them, they don't just vanish. They don't have an expiration date. And the way it is stated is not exactly the way I'm stating it, but I have to modify it a little bit so that we don't get scared. Okay? That is, unless acted upon, a potential holds a potential remains, and it will produce its result unless acted upon. Okay, that is, yes, you can have potential for great experiences, but if we act upon these great potentials in such a way, we can diminish them, where they will no longer be able to produce their results, but we have to act upon them. And an example would be, you do a good deed, you do I guess it sounds so childish, you do a good deed, but it helps. You do an act of generosity, you give somebody something, and immediately after you give them something connected to that, you regret having done that act of generosity. So that regret acts upon the potential that act of generosity would have produced. Okay. And also the opposite. You've done something regrettable. You harm someone. You harmed yourself. And in doing so, you create a potential for an experience that will be connected to further harming being experienced. And you regret that. That regret also acts on that potential in diminishing it. That's why purification is possible. So what we are doing, we are directly acting against those potentials that we do not want to experience. That is purification. Okay. And so these are the in a somewhat brief brief explanation of what are called the 4 laws of karma. Okay, so the certainty of between the relationship between cause and its effect, the expansion of the results in relationship to the cause. You cannot have an experience if there's no cause for that experience. If you are having an experience, that means there was the cause for it. Just leave it at that. Okay. If you have an experience, that means because there was a cause for it somewhere. And very good news is that once a potential is created, it doesn't just go away. So all the wonderful things that you've done that have not yet ripened, they don't just go away, no matter how your life is appearing right now. Okay, they will ripen and they will be multiplied in terms of how they are experienced. I wish I had more time to go into more of the karma stuff, but I'm going to just say briefly something. And this is something that we all sort of also witness in our experience, especially when you've had some understanding of karma, but because it's not something that is ever directly mentioned, so it seems like it's just speculation. But before I mention that, which is like incredible news for people to hear, I have to also mention very briefly what I refer to as what makes the collecting of the potential what is referred to as complete. Okay, don't get hung up on that. Okay, this is just trying to present something to you and using terms. What we refer to the full path of karma. What makes a karmic seed complete? Complete in the sense that it will definitely bring pain. It will definitely bring some sort of benefit. Okay, what makes it complete? It involves how it is created. Shi sampa jorwa tatuk. Who are you doing it to? How well do you recognize it? What is your state of mind when you're doing it? And to what intensity you engage in it? And what is your state of mind at the end when you think you've done it, you're finished with it? So these are the 4 things that and of course they can be present to some, one can be stronger than the other, and sometimes you can have just one of them without the other. Like you're walking backwards and there's the action, you step on somebody's toe. You had no intention, you didn't see them, and you weren't stepping with intensity, like really that's what you wanted to do. And you didn't have a sense of, oh, that's what I wanted to do, and I've done it. I've accomplished what I set out to do. So you could say accidents. So it is an action. So its result will not be the same thing as you see that's somebody's foot. I'm going to step on it because I want that person to experience pain. And then you step on it with as much energy as you could. And at the end of it, you see that the person is in pain. You say, ah, yes, I'm happy. So that combination of thing is much more complete than accidentally stepping on someone. Okay. And that tells you when you are deliberately going to do something, knowing that it is creating a potential whose result that you wish to experience. So make sure these things are well there. Be as focused as you can when you're doing it. Make sure you understand the implications of what you're doing as well as you can. Make sure you identify what you're doing, who you're doing for, as well as you can, and enjoy it. Bring as much emotion as possible when you're there, as much conviction as possible when you're doing it. And at the end of it, acknowledge, yes, I set out to do that and I did it. And take joy, rejoice that you actually did it. Okay. Even if it's you giving, it's something that's happening within a second. You want to do an act of generosity. All these can be present in that 1 second. This person is in need. I want to help them. And this is the best that I can do. And I'm doing it. That person is helped. I'm happy that person is helped. See, within a few seconds, you do that. And that becomes a very powerful seed, a very powerful potential that when it ripens, it will be the size of the universe. Okay. Rather than you accidentally step on someone's foot, then that an action, and again, how are you relating to that action? Are you glad you stepped on that person's foot by accident? Are you yelling at the person? Why was your foot there? Why didn't you take your foot away? Why did you make me step on you? Okay. Or if you, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. So all these things you have to take into consideration, not just the action itself, but the whole attitude, what you bring to it. All these help modify how the potential is created. And depending on the degree and the potential of all these components that came together, that will determine how the result will be. If the apple seed is very powerful, then it will be a big tree and it will give a lot of apples. If the seed is not so powerful, they will not be as big a tree. It will be sick, and then it will not give as much apples. You might even not give any apples. Okay, so all these things you have to take into consideration, and that could have been something that we could spend a long time with, but I had to say that briefly. And then here's the thing that I learned, and that you're going to be very happy to learn very recently, and something that you already know about. And it's something to do with a very complicated, I'm going to spend the less time talking about the most complicated part. Collective karma. Collective karma. Is it possible that you doing something in your house, no one knows that you're doing, and as far as karma is concerned, it affects a lot of people? The thing is, because of the reality of connection, you do not exist in a vacuum. You did not come into existence self-existently. That is, you came into existence because of things coming together. So all these things that came together to make sure that you are who you are, and whether it is the body that you have, the kind of attitudes that you carry on, all those things that are responsible for that, they're still connected to you. And in some way, when you're all in your room doing your own little pujas and the own little thing, all those things connected to you are affected also. That is why an example that was given in the Vinaya about receiving stolen good. Okay, and these are the little bit of the mystical part, and that's the part that you're interested in, and that's what the part I'm gonna sort of go through very fast because I don't want you to have misunderstandings. Okay, so collective karma, for example, how many of you own a factory that's polluting the planet? And yet you're experiencing a polluted planet. You're connected to it. So karma, so this understanding of karma being something completely where you're living in your tiny little, you're living in your own complete separate universe where you can do whatever you want and affects only you. That's not reality. We have connections, connection that we know of, connection that we don't know of. Because how you are the grocer who, even though you bought your stuff from that grocer with your own seeming money, but that grocer having the grocery there helped you to be able to get that, so that you're connected to that grocer. And exactly what is the percentage of connection? Don't go into that, okay? You're gonna go crazy. There's connection. That is the good you do, even you're not doing it directly to others, it affects others. The bad we do, even though it's not directly being done to others, it affects others also. That's the lesson that we have to learn from that. And when we deliberately have this in mind, our sense of connection when we are acting, it makes it even more powerful. Okay. What was the thing connected to this? That was such a good thing. Well, anyway, I think it's because it's time. I don't want to go too deep into that, but there is collective karma. It's in that sense of our deep connections that we have. And we're not talking about mystical connections that no one can point to. Talk about something as simple as the person who didn't have in their mind, I'm going to make the road so that Matt can walk on it. But Matt ends up walking on that road anyway. So Matt is connected to the person who actually built the road. And what that person does is affecting Matt in some invisible way. And what Matt is doing, because Matt is a recipient of that, is affecting that builder in some way. And the closer the connection, the more powerful. And here is the last thing I'm going to say about this. This is a question that I asked. There was this Rinpoche who came to visit our center when I was with Chonga Rato Rinpoche. And this Rinpoche, supposedly, I didn't know about that until he came to the center. He was a candidate to be the Dalai Lama. Remember, if you saw the Kundun, that movie, there were other kids who were tested to see which one was actually the Dalai Lama. So to be one of the kids, to be a candidate is like a big thing. Okay, there's something already special about you that they think maybe that's the Dalai Lama. Okay, you're exhibiting something. So he was one of those kids who was tested, and he's now a big Rinpoche. Anyway, he was teaching a class, and at that time, my mind was still, very soft. So, and it was also the thing with a misunderstanding about karma, and then you become enlightened, and then you're in your own little tiny, not tiny, but you're in your own universe. Everybody's beautiful, everybody's an angel, and the more suffering being you don't see. I didn't quite catch that kind of stuff, right? And especially the idea of blessing was very important to me. How is it that the Dalai Lama sends blessings, or whoever sends blessings, and then so many people receive it and say, oh my God, I got a blessing, and then I was right there and I didn't get anything? What's going on? Okay, so I asked him, what is the practice? Again, here then, what is the detail? What's the action that will result in this? So I was asked, what is it that I must do so that when I become enlightened, my blessing can be felt by as many people as possible? And he said, make a connection with as many people as possible. That was supposedly the answer. Make connection with as many people as possible. So if I yell at you, sorry, that was connection. Now I owe you something. And the only way to pay you back is give you enlightenment in exchange. If I made you feel bad, that's a connection. Because of something I said, because of something I did, then we've established a connection. Okay. If I promised you something that I didn't deliver, we made a connection. When we talk, we make a connection. When we see each other, we make a connection. Okay. And especially when we interact, we are making connections. And when you become enlightened, sitting in your throne, and just the radiation from your being will reach those and then bless them, let alone having to directly go to them and then engage with them. So those who have the strongest connection, as soon as you become enlightened, something incredible will happen to them. So when you guys become enlightened, because you've sat there pretending to be listening to me while pretending to be teaching you, wow, I don't have to do anything. I'm gonna get a wave of blessings and say, woo, I can focus now. I can focus now. Where's that coming from? Oh, I feel compassion for that guy. Where is that coming from? Okay. All right. That's it. And we have we can ask if people have some questions. I mean, this is a topic that a lot of people have questions about. So you can ask. We won't be able to take that as many, but I think maybe a couple, maybe, if they are.
Yeah, if you have questions, just go ahead and unmute yourself. I think everyone is able to do that, and just ask. I think someone's gonna come.
Hi, I have a question, Phuntsok. Thank you so much. So, I'm South Asian, and karma is often weaponized by high caste people against people who are considered low caste or Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from Bangladesh, not from India, so it's definitely a big thing on that border. So I just was wondering, like, your thoughts on how karma has been weaponized by caste, by things that are not that intuitive thing that we all know from a young age. It's like codified into law of one human is unworthy of love and a good life, and they deserve it because of bad karma. So,
yes, thank you for that question. Yeah, and Kamanacho.
Bhalo ati. Thank you.
Yes, unfortunately, that is one of the unfortunate things that has happened to that term, that people weaponize it. A way to excuse their bad behavior, a way to excuse their not taking responsibility for doing something good. They're telling the person, oh, you're in a bad situation, that's your karma, you did it. So they think of karma more like in terms of karma somehow has come to, people use it to like punishment and reward kind of thing. Karma has nothing to do with punishment and reward. It is simply the nature of things. When things move a certain way, there's an experience. It's neither a reward, nor a punishment. Okay? And people have to understand that. There is not a karma, some karma angel writing down what you're doing so that they can look into their law book to decide what punishment to give you and what reward to give you. There's no such thing. Remember, this is the part of it's an intrinsic part of anyone that exists. The very reason we exist is because of this. So when someone sees someone suffering, instead of being moved by compassion, instead of acting in a way to alleviate the suffering, if they think, but they will excuse themselves by saying, oh, that's their karma, they have to experience it, I don't want to interfere with the universe, the universe decides to punish you, who am I to go against the universe and to try to alleviate your suffering? You have to suffer for as long as the universe deems you deserving of suffering. That is not why the karma, the teaching on karma was given. It wasn't for us to go around to say, oh, that one got bad karma, or that one got bad karma too. That wasn't the purpose of it. The purpose of it was simply, I see someone suffering, that's an experience, there's something that I can do engaging with that person to help alleviate that suffering. So we have to think more like that, rather than, oh, there's someone receiving punishment and they deserve it. oh, you must have done something really bad in your past life, and that's why you're suffering this way. So who am I to interfere in your deserved punishment? Oh, look at all those people are suffering. I'm not suffering, that's suffering. I must have done something good. The universe is blessing me and giving me benefits. That's why I'm not suffering what you're suffering. A completely a misunderstanding that it is in the dynamic of existing, how we are interacting with what we are experiencing, that is constantly creating potential. Potential is constantly being created. When we perceive something, how we react to what we are perceiving, that itself is creating a potential. And in what direction that potential will lead us will determine on how we are responding to it. When we see suffering, the only way, the only appropriate way to respond to it is to give rise to compassion. That's if there is a purpose for suffering, it is to remind us of our nature, of our compassionate nature. Okay. And when we feel that we are better off, we are fortunate, then that should automatically give within us, look how much I enjoy these benefits, these fortunes. How wonderful it would be for others to enjoy these benefits also. How can I share it with them? Okay. And we may not be able to fully share a fortune or benefit that we have, but just having the intention, just engaging in some way to do it helps in some way to help alleviate suffering if there's suffering there. Okay. So yes, and that is unfortunately the most misused way of understanding karma, is like it's a punishment and reward kind of thing. And this has nothing to do with that whatsoever. Okay. Yeah.
And so can you continue to elaborate on understandings and misunderstandings of karma? This concept of burning off karma, just the story of, my supervisor today told me a story of a child who was dying of, a terminal illness, and her mom seemed to derive some comfort from the idea that her next life would be a benefit because she was burning, for whatever reason this experience was happening, it was giving her the opportunity to burn off negative karma. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Okay. This is a totally personal instruction, so that we, the person who's having the experience, do not become overwhelmed to the point where we no longer engage in this natural way of collecting potential. So what is it? That is just personal advice. You're having an extremely bad experience. The way for you not to become depressed and dysfunctional is to say, I'm burning off my bad karma. This is not for someone to come and tell you, oh, you're burning a bad karma. Okay, that is not the reason. That is not the purpose of that being said, having been said in the first place. Okay, so and I've also met some people, very good intention, very good-hearted people, who deliberately stop themselves from having a good experience because they say, I don't want to burn that good karma. And they allow themselves to have painful experiences. That's burning off a bad karma. Okay. The idea that karma is being burned is a psychological, skillful means of teaching someone something so that when they're having an experience, so in order for them to be able to deal with it in a way that they don't become dysfunctional, if they think of it as that way, that I'm just burning off bad karma, then that allows you to step out away from it and be able to engage in more positively in the world. Okay. Yeah.
Any final questions for Phuntsok? Okay, if not, then I'm just going to make a few final announcements and then we'll close with a guided meditation. Now, I was busy asking a question, so I didn't type this in the chat. I'm going to type it in the chat and you will see it in a little bit, but you know, we practice dana in these meetings. You know, traditionally, someone would share dharma and then they would be supported by the lay community. So monks and nuns are sharing teachings, and in return, they're receiving food and clothing items and sometimes shelter from the lay community. And this is a practice of generosity and it's a virtue, but then it's also just a very simple way of continuing the teachings. And it doesn't have to be monetary. It can be, you know, that you've received the gift of dharma, and then you pass along acts of generosity in whatever ways are really appropriate to you. And so I would never want to suggest that there's some transactional component to this. That would be wrong. But we do have a Venmo. So I don't know how to, there's a suggested donation. So I'm gonna put a website up there. It's a Patreon that we use to support Phuntsok. I mean, my dream and the dream of people before me even was always to somehow make it possible so that Phuntsok doesn't have to work a typical job, that his work could be just spreading the Dharma in these wonderful teachings. And so in light of that thought and the efforts that we've made, we've created a website for him where you can support monthly or one time financially. There's also a Venmo that you can contribute to, and then you can also book private sessions with him. So I'm going to just include links to all of that stuff that you can click on before you go. Again, the point is not to create some kind of transaction. The point is to just be able to practice generosity in a way that supports the furthering of these teachings in the world. So if you receive some benefit, you can pass that along. And hopefully the results are greater than the initial cause. So with that said, I'll include that, but I'll pass it back over to Phuntsok to just lead us in a final meditation, and we'll just say thank you all, for being here and supporting with your hearts and minds and ears. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. All right. So as you are getting yourself ready for the meditation, I'm gonna relay advice from Milarepa. Milarepa is considered to be like the Tibetan yogi par excellence. Okay. It's a beautiful story where someone who admires Milarepa came to him, and seeing how marvelous Milarepa is, what he knows, what he's able to do. And this person said, wow, you are so wonderful. You must have been an enlightened being who came to this world already enlightened. So it sounds like a compliment, right? And Milarepa was very sad to hear that. He said, my dear friend, what you're expressing is your complete lack of faith in action and the results. Why can't you see that I put the effort and now experiencing the results, rather than some orally enlightened being who can only be to be able to do these things that I'm doing. So remember, the whole point of teaching of karma is become certain about what you know you should be doing. And of course, be open-minded to change, to make adjustments. And then when you feel you have all the resources that you need internally, externally, act decisively. And don't worry, don't become discouraged when you don't see the results immediately. Know that the potential is there and it definitely will bring the result. And it will be incredible when it ripens. Okay. All right. So now you're sitting in a way conducive to meditation. You listen to that natural intelligence in the body, arrange your body in the way that is conducive to meditation. And you begin to touch aspects of the meditative state, a sense of calm, a sense of pleasantness, a sense of clarity, radiance, distinctiveness, vividness, a degree of them, spaciousness, a sense of the mind sort of collecting itself. And if you remember the experience you had when you were in meditation, just remember it. And as you are recalling it, that very act of recalling it helps you to begin to experience it again. And as soon as you have a slightest taste of experiencing it again, take a nice deep breath and let yourself go deeper into that state as you release, let go, let go, let go. Feel yourself going deeper within the body, deeper within with the breath, deeper with energetically, deeper with the mind. And notice the signs enhanced some degree in the body, in the breath, in the mind. Notice the degree of any of the signs and rejoice. And let your heart go to the heart where that inspirer of yours, your personal inspirer, your personal guide, came one with your mind and your heart and allowed you to be gifted you the blessing of understanding in a way that, yes, you're going to apply these things immediately. And feel the sense of you, how it is a beautiful, mysterious amalgam of different parts by themselves cannot be said to be you, but together they say they're you. Left hand, left foot, right foot, flesh, blood, all these things by themselves, not you, but together somehow they equal you. Your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions. And that same attitude you have about all those different things that we're calling me, and the me is vivid and it's real, me. Expand that. See all of us sitting in a circle in their own space. And let that me expand the same way the right hand looks at the left hand and says me, look at each other and have the sense of me. And to help us get a stronger sense of that sense of me, imagine someone outside of the circle looking at us and they're saying, look at them. As though pointing to one thing, look at them. So feel that them being us. And as we grow stronger in that identity of usness, a bright presence appears in the very center of our circle, a sign of the strength of our usness. And as that sense of usness grows, that bright presence in the center of our circle expands, getting brighter, expanding brighter and brighter. And as it expands, it completely absorbs unto itself whatever it touches, making that us, expanding that sense of us. It continues to expand, includes your neighbors, your pets, continues to expand your neighborhood, the trees, the grass, continues to expand the birds in the sky, continues to expand the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, the sky, the clouds. And that sense of us is there. And that same instinct of wanting to go help any part and having the sense of helping me, we have that towards the river, towards the ocean, towards the sky, towards the trees, towards our neighbors. Until everything that you can connect with as existing is completely absorbed in that bright light, us. And now you no longer need a visual cue to have that sense, to have that acknowledgement of that connection, of that us. Then that bright light begins to shrink. And as it shrinks, it reveals whatever it is that it absorbed, and it leaves a shimmering of itself until it comes again to the very center of our circle. And we have a conviction: when I sincerely help myself, I am helping us. When I sincerely help us, I am helping myself. And with that conviction, with that sense of connection being firm and sealed, then no longer need a visual cue of a bright light in our center. It becomes rays of light equal to each one of us and is absorbed in the very center of our hearts. And you are as concerned for somebody who lives on the other side of the planet as you are for your own left foot. Think of the wonderful, beautiful, positive energy we gained through this session tonight. And think of something that deep sincerely concerns you, whether it's personal, whether it's for someone you know, a place, a situation, and dedicate this beautiful energy to help address that concern. Gyondi Kyoken Sunan Yeshe Leju Damba Kunyi Toba Shu. Okay, make the intention to come out of the meditation. Witness that you are indeed in meditation. Only if you are in meditation can you come out of it. So witness that you are indeed in meditation. Notice the signs, the calm, the pleasantness, the clarity, the radiance, the focus. Noticing any measure of them, rejoice. Make the intention to come out. Take a nice deep breath. And as you release that breath, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings. Deliberately reconnect with your sense of touch. Reconnect with your sense of hearing. Reconnect with your sense of sight. Deliberately noticing colors, shapes, lights, shadows. All right, thank you very much. there's of course a lot more details to go into when it comes to the concept of karma. Karma.
Karma part 2.
Then we can get into those, like, once you've encountered it, these are the things that come up. How do we fully understand what was said in applying to those conditions and understandings? Maybe we can have a karma part 2, if you like.